Hello everyone, welcome to the last session of the bridge course where I will be discussing about the nanomaterials and their introductions, classifications, their properties and applications. So which is there in the unit 5. So I am Dr. Sudeep Mandal, Assistant Professor of Chemistry, Department of Sciences and Humanities at BFSTR. So let's move on. So I will be discussing about their definition. So introduction to nanoscale, what do you mean by nano, right? And what are the nanomaterials? What is the definition of nanomaterials? What do you mean by it? And there are several properties. What is the properties which are different from the bulk materials, and their importance and the specific applications of it, right? So I have put several images here. You can see that there are a lot of applications, a lot of materials are there which has been used, okay, in the day-to-day life. Any things you are using, like apart from mobile, right? Then you are using like toothpaste, any cosmetics, and all are nanomaterials basically. So I will show more details about that. So let's move on to the next slide. So aim of this course is to provide a brief overview about basics, history, properties and applications of nanomaterials. So expected outcomes after completion of this module, you will be able to understand the fundamental of nanoscience, distinguish between the bulk and nanomaterials, correlate the properties of nanomaterials with the applications. So I am going to cover introduction to nanoscale. So what do you mean by nano? Definition of nanomaterials, a brief history of nanomaterials, properties of nanomaterials, the difference between the bulk and nanoparticles, and the applications of nanomaterials. So coming to the introduction to nanoscale, so the nano, the prefix, the nano word, it is derived from the Greek word called dwarf. So dwarf means small size. If you have watched the film Zero, where Shah Rukh Khan is acted, right? So he acted as a small man, right? So that is kind of, you can call it a dwarf. So dwarfism kind of on disease also there, which is having any height of the man or woman will be less. So that is called dwarf. So specifically mathematically, what do you mean by nanometer? Like you know micrometer, millimeter, centimeter. So mathematically you can express the nanometer, okay, is the distance corresponding to 1 billionth. That means the 10 to the power 9 of a meter. So I have highlighted that. So 10 to the power minus 9 meter, if you go for power of 10, is basically you can call it as a 1 nanometer. So this is kind of mathematical expression, right? So 1 nanometer equal 10 to the power minus 9 meter. How do you imagine that? So how do you give, how do you prove that perception? So without any example, like that means I have to give one example. Okay, this much distance in nanometers. For example, if you take like one scale and measure, okay, I have this much centimeter or this much millimeter, right? So you can measure it. So but nanometer you cannot measure like that, right? So if I give one example, suppose if you take 10 hydrogen atoms and lined up side by side are about 1 nanometer long. So that means if you put 10 hydrogen atoms, right, and then lined up together, that distance you can call it as a 1 nanometer. So that is kind of one example you can imagine. So let us talk about the scales of nature, right? So you know the galaxies, universe. We have different planets, Sun, Earth, right? So what is the size of the galaxy? So as per the study and all, you know it is like around 10 to the power 20 meter. So how do you know? That means you need a system or some kind of planet, galaxies and all. That means you have some kind of comparison. So based on that you can say this must be. Now specifically I have highlighted the red portion. So I am going to talk about those portions and give some of the examples where you can see, like for example whale, then you have rat, human being, right, fruit fly, hair. So up to that, that's kind of hair, up to here, human hair, 100 micrometer. So those are the materials or those are the elements you can see in naked eye. Okay. Now if you go beyond that, like cell, bacteria, right, virus, then you have DNA and some small molecules. those things you cannot see in your naked eye. So that for that purpose, to see those materials, you need a microscope. Some of the materials like cell and all, cell, bacteria and all, you can see using light microscope. But what about the materials like DNA, some small molecules and some virus, which you cannot see at all light microscopy? That means you need an electron microscopy to see those things. So that is also called the nanoscopy. So that means to understand the nanomaterials or any nano substance, you need to see that or those materials using an electronic microscopy, like scanning electron microscopy, transmission electron microscopy, tunneling microscopy. So in that microscopy, you can specifically see this kind of small size materials, right? So let us see how nanoscience it is. So a nanometer, I told, is the 1 billionth of meter. I will give you some of the example, like comparing the meter to a nanometer is like comparing an earth to a marble. So earth is very big, marble is very small, right? So you cannot see that. For example, grain of sand, it is 1 millimeter. Then human hair, that is around 80 micrometer. Red blood cell, that is 7 micrometer. Then you have E. coli bacteria, that is 2 micrometer. Then adenovirus, that is 120 nanometer. Then antibody, 10 nanometer. Then you have DNA, that is 2 nanometer. Then you have carbon nanotube, so that is around 1 nanometer. Right? So this is some scale which I gave example from the millimeter to nanometer. Right? So nowadays you are talking about the coronavirus, right? So what is the size of the coronavirus? The coronavirus is around 120 nanometer. Right? Then you have, compared to that, E. coli, that is 2 micrometer. Then if you take clay particle, that is 2.5 micrometer. Then if you take red blood cell, it is around 7 micrometer. And if you talk about the skin cell, that is 20 micrometer. Then pollen particle, it is 50 micrometer. Then grain of sand, it is 200 micrometer. Then if you take the salt cube, that is around 500 micrometer. And if you consider an ant, it is 5 millimeter. And if you take an example for US penny, it is around 1.9 centimeter. And finally, if you take an egg, so that is around 4.5 centimeter. So this is about the different types of materials. It's varying from the nanometer to centimeter. So now you must have an idea what is actually nanometer. Right? Apart from the mathematical expression like it is 1 nanometer to 10 to the minus 9 meter, so you have some idea of what is actually the nanoscale. Right? So some of the important jargons you need to remember here. So nanometer, it is the measure of a distance corresponding to 1 billionth of a meter. So nanoparticle or the nanomaterials, it refers to the particle or material which size in the range of 1 to 100 nanometer in at least one dimension. So you have 3 dimensions, x, y and z. So at any one of the dimension it is coming 1 to 100 nanometer. So that material you can call it as a nanometer. What is nanoscience? So nanoscience, the study of phenomena and manipulation of materials at atomic, molecular and macromolecular scales where properties differ significantly from those at a larger scale. That means what? It is basically the one branch of the science where you are studying the nanomaterials at the atomic and molecular level and how that is the properties are varying from the bulk materials. That is the larger scale. Now what is the nanotechnology? So nanotechnology is the design, characterization, production and application of structures, devices and systems that take advantage of the special properties of the nanomaterials by controlling their shape, size at the nanometer scale. Right? So how the properties of the materials are changing in the nanoscale. So that is called the nanotechnology. So what are the design, characterization and production you are doing? That is nanotechnology. So science means basically you are studying the molecular level and atomic level, and that study you are converting into design, characterization and production, that is called nanotechnology. So that two terms are basically interrelated, nanoscience and nanotechnology. So it's like huge, ongoing topic in every field of science. The nanotechnology, like it's an ongoing or trending or hot topic which people are doing. So everywhere you can see the nano. You cannot think of your life without nanoscience and nanotechnology. So to understand those nanoscience and nanotechnology, you need a understanding of chemistry, physics. So it is a very interdisciplinary field to do research and also to study. So you need to understand a lot of things. So I'll tell you why I'm telling this. Whenever I'll be discussing about some of the properties of the nanomaterials, that time you'll understand why you need to study both chemistry, physics, right? So why do you need to know about nano? So I'll give some of the pictures. You can see why do you need to know. So I'll just randomly put some of the pictures here to show you the vast application of the nanomaterials. So whatever pictures you are seeing, like cosmetics, cloth, car, right, then wind energy and all, in everywhere, some way the nanomaterials are involved. Whether it is a design, whether it is a production, whether it is a coating and all. So you can see these are the some few examples I have given. There are a lot are there. There are huge applications of the nanoscience. Another example for like pharmaceutical, healthcare, serum, cosmetics, energy storage and application like batteries and all I told. Then oil and gas petroleums, then water filtration and water treatment, right? So whatever topic you choose, whatever field you choose, you can see nano is everywhere. So you cannot think about any technology without nano materials. In today's, science and technology, you cannot think about anything without nanomaterials. And also this, I'll give some of the example. Like this example, this is like carbon dioxide capture. So we use some materials, nanomaterials, which specifically capture the carbon dioxide. So in a air, you have oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide. So the huge application of nanomaterials, you can generate some kind of molecular organic framework or MOF, which are basically the porous materials which will absorb or capture only the carbon, selectively only carbon dioxide. Selectively carbon dioxide, not the oxygen, nitrogen. That means how it is capturing the carbon dioxide. That means there are some specific interaction with that molecule or that gas. Because of that, it is able to capture that material. So suppose you know that sponge, right? What happens in sponge? It's like porous material. It can absorb anything, right? And it can pass through also something. So that kind of material we have, like nanomaterials, which specifically capture the carbon dioxide. It's a huge application so that we can prevent the greenhouse effect. Another example is the storage system or the data transfer. So you have certain nanomaterials. What that means? So they are mixing or they are interrelating the optical and the electronic properties of the nanomaterials, and they are using that materials for the optoelectronic based data transfer techniques. It's a huge application for that and huge ongoing topic. Another is the cancer cells killing nanobots. So what we do here, so we use some kind of nanomaterials, and on the surface we put some sensor and also some drug particles, so drug nanoparticle on that, or the drug molecule on the nanoparticle surface, and we put also sensor. Then we'll inject that or we'll put it inside the body. So what it does, it basically selectively finds the cancer cells and sense that and keep the drug molecule and kill those cancer cells. It's a huge application, right? Another example is, which is very, very interesting actually, the catalysis. It's called heterogeneous catalysis. So any application like fuel cells or any water splitting and all, this catalysis topic comes. Even in organic chemistry also this catalysis is there. So this is called heterogeneous catalysis. So you need to understand what is the difference between the homogeneous catalysis and heterogeneous catalysis. So I will tell that homogeneous catalysis means whenever you are doing catalysis in a same phase. So by the way, before that I will tell you what is catalyst. You know what is catalyst, right? So catalyst means a material which will brings down the activation energy of the reaction path, and at the final stage it will not be consumed. So that is the catalyst. So it basically helps to increase the rate of the reaction by bringing down the activation energy, and also it will not be consumed in the reaction. So that is the catalyst. So homogeneous catalyst means if the both reactions and catalyst and the reaction mix are in the same phase, like both in the liquid or both in the gas or both in the solid. That is called homogeneous. Heterogeneous means in the two different phases. One will be maybe solid, another will be gas or solid and liquid. If two different phases is there, that is called heterogeneous catalysis. And the huge application of the heterogeneous catalysis is there. This is one of the example where ethylene is coming and sitting on the catalyst surface and it is getting hydrogenated and forming acid. So what is nanomaterials? So nanomaterials are defined as the class of materials having at least one special dimension between 1 to 100 nanometer. Right? Some of the examples are like carbon nanotube 1 to 2 nanometer and fullerene, right? And other many examples like graphene, graphite, right? So many examples are there. So I will come to those things later on. So this is like graphene actually, graphene sheet. Now what are the properties of nanomaterials? So nanomaterials can be metal, ceramic, polymeric materials and composite nanomaterials. Once you reach nano dimension, the properties of the materials change as compared to their bulk materials. So let us say example of gold. What is the color of gold? You can say it is yellowish or you can say golden color. Right? When you make the nanomaterials, the color is changing. Now the color of the nanomaterials of the gold, it will vary depending on the size of the nanoparticle. It can be purple, it can be blue, it can be yellow. So it will change its color based on what size of nanomaterials you have grown. Right? So if you have the micro size, the color is different. Once you go to the nano size, again that color is varying because of their size. So I will come to that why it is varying. So that is also another property. So some of the properties like high surface to volume ratio, unique catalytic property, different optical properties compared to the bulk materials, different electrical and magnetical properties compared to the bulk materials, unique mechanical properties like structure, hardness, strength, ductility and toughness. And what is the high surface to volume ratio? That means your surface area will be increasing but volume is the constant. So surface divided by volume, where volume is constant but the surface area is increasing. How do you do that? Suppose you take a block of the material or one cube, then divide that cube into 10 another small cube. So if you suppose that the big cube having the 6 centimeter square, now if you make it in different small particle, your surface area will be increased and it will be like 60 centimeter square. Then again you make it, you grind it and make it into nano, your surface area will be increasing like anything. Why it is happening? Because once you go to the bulk material, to the nano material, you are basically decreasing the particle size. So because of that, your surface area is going to be increased. And that soil, it is having huge application on the catalytic application or any other topic you can have. So that specifically I will be discussing more whenever I will be talking about the synthesis and all. Another property is called quantum confinement. So to understand this quantum confinement, you need to understand a little bit physics. So in this session, I will be not going more detail on that. Okay, this is bit complicated, but I will say overall what do you mean by quantum confinement. So it can be observed once the diameter of the material, so the nanomaterial is equal to the magnitude of the de Broglie wavelength. So what is the de Broglie formula? Lambda equal to h by p. H is equal to the Planck's constant, p is the basically momentum. So lambda is called the de Broglie wavelength. So one of the wave is there, the complete dimension is called the lambda. So once the size of the nanomaterials is equal to the dimension of the lambda, that material will show the quantum confinement effect. So why it is showing? So if you see the bulk materials, so in any bulk material you have the electrons and holes, so that can move freely. So once you reducing the size of the materials and make it into nanomaterials, you are basically confining the size. So size is confined, right? That means the electrons or the holes are basically trapped or confined in the certain distance of the material. So because of that, it shows the confinement, quantum confinement. So I will be discussing more whenever I will be discussing this topic, as it's a bridge course. I will not go into detail much. So whenever I will be talking or explaining that in unit 5, I can explain in more way and giving more example. Right? So I'll show some example what is the effect of that. So suppose if I go to the band theory, what do you mean by insulator, semiconductor and the conductor? So insulator means you have a huge band gap between the valence band and the conduction band. But semiconductor, you have a small band gap around 2.5 or 3, and you have the Fermi level which is aligned in between the conduction and the valence band. But in case of conductor, what is happening? So the conduction band and the valence bands are overlapping. So in case of metal, what is happening? So metal, you have a lot of free electrons, so that can move easily from the valence band to conduction band. That's why you can see that it's a conductor. Metal is a conductor, right? For the semiconductor, you need to provide a extra energy to move one of the electron from the valence band to the conduction band, right? So this is the basic band theory. Now, why I am telling this, you will come to know if I move to the next stage. Now, suppose if I give example for the nanomaterials, how the gold, it is showing different color when you are making different size of the nanomaterial. So suppose for the bulk material, you have certain band gap. You have the valence band, conduction band, you have band gap. Now that bulk material, if you convert to the nanomaterials or the smaller size, what happens? The energy levels. So in case of bulk material, the energy levels are continuous. The valence band and conduction band, the energy levels are continuous. That means it is like overlapped. That's why it is forming the band. But once you decrease the size of the bulk material and going to the nanomaterials, the energy levels are getting discreted. So you can see the discrete energy levels. And because of that, your band gap of the material or nanomaterial is increasing. So what is the relation between the band gap and the size of the nanomaterials? It is the inversely proportional. So if your size of the nanomaterials is small, that means your band gap will be higher. So bigger size, small band gap, smaller size, higher band gap. So band gap and the size of the nanomaterials are inversely proportional. So if you go back to the gold example, suppose, if you see that once your particle size of the gold nanoparticles are decreasing, your light also you can see how it is going, which color you are getting. Right? So because of the band gap, what the light is that is absorbing, based on that you are getting the color of the nanoparticles. So this is the effect of the quantum confinement. Right? Because of that, basically it talks about the size of the nanomaterials, and once the size of the nanomaterials is equal to the de Broglie then that will show the quantum confinement. Right? Hope you have understood little bit. So I will discuss more whenever I will be talking about this thing in the class. So let us see what are the classifications of the nanomaterials. So the classifications you can have based on the dimension. So you can have 0 dimension nanomaterials, 1 dimension, 2 dimension, 3 dimension. Now why do we call 1 dimension, 2 dimension, 3 dimensional materials? So 0 dimensional materials, you can see, you can take example of quantum confinement. That means when all the dimensions are confined, then that is called 0 dimensional material. So very tiny particle, like for example quantum dots, cadmium sulfide quantum dots or lead sulfide quantum dots, right, or the graphene quantum dots. Those are basically very tiny particle. Typically the size, quantum dot size is 1 to 10 nanometer. Within that 1 to 10 nanometer, what are nanoparticles you can synthesize, that you can call it as a quantum dot. So that is called 0 dimensional materials. You see like a dot, point. So that doesn't have any dimension. 1 dimension means it is another 2 dimensions are confined, is the quantum wire, like nano wire, that is kind of 1 dimension. 2 dimension means it's a nano sheet. So that is called 2 dimensional materials. Then you have the 3 dimensional particle, like nanoparticles and all. Those are the 3 dimensional materials. So basically you can classify the nanomaterials based on the dimension 0D, 1D, 2D and 3D. Right? So some of the examples, I will tell you what are the classifications. Some nanomaterials like inorganic molecule based nanomaterials, organic nanomaterials, then you have the carbon nanomaterials. So basically in this topic we have the synthesis and the properties applications of the carbon based nanomaterials. So you have the graphene, fullerene, carbon nanotubes and carbon dots. So these 3 terms are there. Graphene, 3 carbon materials are the graphene, fullerene and CNT, which you have to read their synthesis process, what are the properties and what are the applications of these 3. And some other carbon based nanomaterials like carbon dots and GC3N4, okay, carbon nitrate. Okay. So then I will summarize. So we have some basic idea of the nano, what is the nanoscale and nanomaterials. So the prefix nano is derived from the Greek word for dwarf. The word nano is very small, which is 10 to the minus 9 meter. It is nearly impossible to live without encountering with nanomaterials in today's world. And due to the unique properties of nanomaterials, the application continue to expand. So that's what I told. So this is the end of the session and end of the bridge course. So hope you have enjoyed all the session, and thank you for attending this session also. And if you have any queries or any questions, you can write to me in the given email ID sudhimondal.chm@gmail.com or drs_sh@bignan.ac.in. So thank you once again for attending this session, and we'll see you in the upcoming classes. We'll start about the unit 1 in the next session onwards as per the regular class and the recording purpose, right? Okay, thank you, bye.